What is up everyone, it's TK, and today we're going to be taking a look at our seasonal defenses and how you can deal with them at the best way possible, what to avoid and what to be ahead of with some pro tips and tricks. So let's dive in and see this video. So firstly, let's take a look at the flame spinner, and I'm going to give you some tips and tricks with it, but this defense is really simple to deal with, and it's going to majorly be about the lower leagues or when you are a lower town hall and attacking a higher town hall, which is town hall 17, and they have this defense. How can you deal with it? So first thing first, if you are looting on this defense, make sure you don't just spend your goblins right around it alone. You need to be using the warden ability and mostly haste and jump spell to get through a compartment or a few major kind of, I would say, looting stuff like a storage or collectors. This way you avoid those fire shots, because on the maximum level it actually kills the sneaky goblins, so you need to watch out if you're doing those looting attacks. But if you are doing RC charges, I would highly suggest you to take this defense out quickly, and when you're getting close to it, if you're ready to lose your fox, you can do the invisibilities a bit earlier. But if you want to get better value, you can back-to-back invis, so the fox doesn't take damage from other defenses and the flames of the flame spinner doesn't kill the fox by itself. So if your fox takes damage or there are giant bombs or giga bomb, that's when the fox get into some trouble. But it's okay if you lose the fox early on. It's not the end of the world unless you are in Legends, but in Legends League you don't really see the flame spinner too much. If the flame spinner is on the outside or the first few layers of the base, usually it tends to have a lot of other defenses and valuable defenses around it. So I would highly suggest you, if you're using a fireball army, go with that fireball on top of it or around it, so you can get a lot of defenses out of the way, because usually people don't tend to put the flame spinner on its own like a hook tower. They try to put it around damage or around clan castle troops, which just deals the most amount of damage, or around the heroes. So just have this note. And for the final tip, do not be scared of it. This is going to be my last tip for you, and let's move on to the hook tower, which is going to be our next topic, and that one is a bit tricky. So the hook tower is an interesting defense, obviously, and if you want to deal with it, there's a few ways possible. And firstly, we're going to be taking a look at the skeleton spell, which is very valuable. So if there are multi-infernos or fire spitters around the hook tower, try to place your skeleton spell in around the area where they don't target it. The fire spitters are fine because by the time they shoot and stuff, it's gonna take some time, but if it's a multi-inferno, you cannot technically do that. So we can move on to another method, and that would be earthquake and log launcher with the giant arrow, something you can actually do to get rid of the hook tower. But let's say there are builders around it. Something that is very annoying is 4 builders healing the hook tower while you're having the log launcher or the giant arrow and the earthquake spell going on. You can't actually get through that and it will stay on. So what do? Well, there's always another choice, which you can have an ice golem in front of your army. That way the hook tower drags the ice golem first and it gets frozen for a longer time. You can also froze the other defenses around it, so it gives you a longer time for warden ability or for an overgrowth spell or for your other Sui attacks if you are doing so. But there is also another method if you are not using the Root Rider army, or you're using, for example, any other army which takes the king and the earthquake boots together. This way you can actually send the king to the hook tower, so once the hook tower grabs him, you can actually pop his ability, and the earthquake boots with that spiky ball will always take down the hook tower, no matter the defenses around it, no matter the builders around it, because king directly goes on top of it, and you can always get some nice value with an extra earthquake spell in case you are in Legends League and the damage is a lot. Now, 2 things to avoid with the hook tower is do not warden charge or warden walk around that entire side of the base, because one thing the hook tower is good for is how isolated it can be. That way, you usually, when you get the fireball value, if you do not have a recall spell, your warden will get dragged eventually. You might not be able to start the army too quickly or control your attack too well, so the warden it will get dragged on and you're just losing one of your 4 heroes. Very, very simple. So try to avoid that. And the other thing you should avoid is if the hook tower is on one side of a symmetrical base, do not send your RC charge into it because it's most likely baited. So this is how they bait the people. They bait you with the way of your mind, the psychology moves. So they want you to go and be like, yo, this hook tower looks really juicy to grab on the right side. Let me go and grab it, and boom, there are traps there. So you can always start the opposite side of the symmetrical hook tower, get the other value no matter what it is. It could be literally one archer tower, but then do the tricks I told you when you're starting your attack on the other side if you're doing the RC charge. No matter if it's Super Yetis, no matter if it's Root Riders or any other army, this way you can have Skeleton Spell, your King, either Ice Golem, Overgrowth, a lot of options to get through the hook tower. Just make sure you delay your RC a bit with the recall spell so that way she can be behind the troops and not go in front of the troops too quickly, as the hook tower might just drag her. Moving on to the hardest defense to deal with and the most used defense I think in Legends League and League 33, which is going to be the Crusher Mortar. This defense is actually so powerful, and I got even more notes, more pro tips, and more things to avoid and how to deal with it, a lot more than the other ones. So first thing first, if this Crusher Mortar is not next to a Multi-Inferno or the Town Hall poison, you know, obviously the shots that is like a poison damage, you can go with the Skeleton Spell. And yeah, that might actually surprise you, but a Skeleton Spell is actually a very good thing to tank for the Crusher Mortar, as it would actually make sure whenever the shots come down, there's always going to be more skeletons popping up, so those skeletons won't go down to only one shot, as their guards will be coming out. So this is a very, very good way to kind of make sure you tank it, but make sure you tank it on a very weird angle, not just right in front of your army, because this does a lot of splash and it's back to back. So if your army is coming from the same angle as the skeleton spell, you will still take the damage. So this is how you should do it. Make sure it's another angle and you enter to the, hook tower, or not the hook tower, the crusher mortar with another angle. If the crusher mortar is next to the town hall, or the giga bomb with the minion prince, or the monolith, you don't really want to do your RC charges, especially if you're in legends or tournaments, because all it takes is one little slip up with your invisibility spells, and either the Town Hall, Giga Bomb, and the Minion Prince, or the Monolith will really, really cook you heavily with the shots of them and the Crusher Mortar together. You will definitely lose the Fox, and if there are like literally one or two Giant Bombs, you either could just go through the RC ability or you could lose the RC completely. But if you're doing Dragon attacks, you don't really necessarily need to grab that Crusher Mortar with the RC charge. So your risks are a lot easier to go for opposite side of that base, whereas it's less likely to be baited. There's 3 things you can actually do when you're dealing with a Crusher Mortar inside your attack, not just the start. So firstly, it's going to be a free spell. You can use the free spell, overgrowth spell, or your warden ability around the Crusher Mortar. This makes sure the Crusher Mortar doesn't just heavily damage your troops. With the free spell, you can actually give yourself some time for the Warden ability. With the Overgrowth spell, you can actually give yourself some more time to be able to come back to that defense later on when you have even more army and you have a lot of the base taken down. And with the Warden ability, it's usually when you're starting into the base or when you are losing the overgrowth timing, so that way you have the warden ability right next to a crusher mortar. These 3 methods make sure you don't actually take any damage from the crusher mortar itself and gives you more time and troop HP for the rest of the base. If the crusher mortar is inside the rage compartment, you need to go with either the fireball, or you need to finish your attack on it, or you need to overgrowth it, but never ever send your hero dive, your king and queen, into that area, because the way it kills the king, it actually shoots the queen behind it, and you can't really use the queen ability to the maximum level, especially if there are multi-infernos or ricochet cannons and multi-archer towers around that area. This will actually kill your queen through her ability, and you won't really get the maximum value. Crusher Mortar, I would just simply tell you, if you're using a fireball attack, try to get it out of the way, because most of the fireball attacks are for ground strategies. This way, you don't have to send your heroes into it, you don't have to finish your attack into it, or it won't just cook your warden with an extra few defenses around it. So you have to go with the fireball right on top of it or around it. This way, actually, you get so much value always with that Crusher Mortar. So make sure you know it's a valuable defense. No matter what army you use, you might be using rock balloons with the fireball. This way, you don't actually send anything to it and it will just be out of the way. If there are no value around it, which I actually doubt, because Crusher Mortar is just like the Flame Flinger, they do tend to work very well with the other defenses like a Multi Inferno, like a Town Hall, like other heroes or Clan Castle troops. So this is why the Crusher Mortar will always give you fireball value no matter what. But if in any case it's really bad value and it's very much isolated in an area, make sure you flame flinger it. You can actually outrange it with the flame flinger and try to take down the mortars or the expos with either RC or with some rock balloons. This way you actually get through that with another option, which is the flame flinger, and you don't again send your Sui, which is the king and the queen, the Sui dive, that's what we call it, into it, and it just results in a very bad value from your queen. And that's it, guys, for all the tips and tricks I could give you on these defenses that I personally experienced and the things I would personally do when I'm dealing with them. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this and hopefully it was informative for you. And if it was, make sure to drop a like and also subscribe to the channel and check the links down below in the description. I appreciate every single one of you that stayed all the way till the end, and I appreciate the members of the channel. Big shout out to you guys, and I will see you later in the next video. Take care. Peace.